The Nelson Mandela Foundation is also paying tribute to the late Rev Jesse Jackson for his unwavering solidarity with South Africa's liberation struggle. His enduring relationship with Nelson Mandela and his broader contribution to global movements. Let's now take you to our reporter, Kylie Kumalo, and he's on standby with the ANC's First Secretary General Nomvula Mokonyane. Over to you, Kaya.
Well, absolutely, Mbali. Quite a very solemn occasion here at the Nelson Mandela Foundation. These are South Africans and many others really paying homage to this gallant freedom fighter. Quite a very inspirational event here where we've had quite from a number of speakers talking about a very rich legacy being left behind by Rev Jackson. From the time he came in South Africa in 1979, how he advocated for the sanctions to be imposed against apartheid South Africa, but really denouncing so many atrocities. And Ms. Mokonyane joins us now. So once again, ma'am, let's talk about Rev Jackson. By all accounts, a friend of South Africa who stood really with the freedom fighters, no matter what, who defied so many odds. I mean, just your reflections about tonight.
This was a very important day, happening in a venue that is very significant at the Nelson Mandela Foundation premises. The father of Rev Jesse Jackson, a freedom fighter, a Pan-Africanist, an internationalist who identified with South Africa and its struggle, who continued to be part of the Friends of the African National Congress in both good and bad times. And here today, we all are reflecting as to what would he have said on what is happening in Iran and in many other parts of the world, including Cuba and Palestine. Our take living here is that we must keep hope alive. We must understand that our struggles are intertwined with the struggles of everyone who's fighting for social justice, humanity, and sovereignty. This is what he has said on a pulpit, on the doorsteps of town halls, in protests and pickets, confronting the systems, but also becoming the voice of reason against various other tyrants that were not and continued not to be supportive of democracy and self-determination. We're happy that Comrade President Cyril Ramaphosa has gone to pay his last respects on behalf of the people of South Africa in the United States of America with the Americans, friends of the African National Congress and friends of the people of South Africa.
And just, Ms. Mokonyane, let's look at that significance where the President of the Republic has gone to the U.S., invited by the Americans, especially in the context of the current bilateral relations between the two countries, where it shows that, you know, the roots between the two countries, you know, they're long-standing, going back to the anti-apartheid movement, the global solidarity. So I would imagine that it shows that that solidarity is quite key.
Our internationalism is also premised on a people-to-people relation. The people of America stand with the people of South Africa. The laws of America, some of them protect the rights of the Americans, as they had the right now to invite the president to come and pay tribute, as the invitation was extended by the Jesse Jackson Foundation. But of importance is that even with this turmoil and the anarchy and aggression that is unfolding, Americans were not shy to say it can't be a full celebration without South Africa. And for that, we are humbled. Secondly, we also believe it is a good symbolic expression that the administration may be anti-us, but the administration doesn't represent the wishes and the aspirations of the people of America, because we also know how it violates its own laws and processes to actually go in and steal leaders of nations, kill leaders of nations, kill 170 young kids in a school in a period of less than 15 minutes, kill the parents who went to try and rescue the children. That is an act of terror. That's anarchy. It is unacceptable. And we hope that through his spirit, all of us will remain determined to keep hope alive, but to also speak truth to power.
And just before I let you go, Ms. Mokonyane, making reference to this raging conflict, I mean, already we've seen those scenes in Gaza, and there was a bit of a relief when there was announcement around the ceasefire, but now the latest escalation, where we've seen also the aviation sector, you know, where there's a threat of the global supply chains being affected purely because of this conflict. When you look at the Strait of Hormuz, the movement of shipping industry and many other key trading sectors.
Already we will feel the effects. And for South Africans, what is of importance is to understand that it may be miles away, but it has an impact on the price of bread. It will have an impact on the price of your taxi fare. And you can't actually not stand on the side of justice and humanity. You must also stand on the side of defending sovereignty and self-determination. What we all need to do is to also call upon the United Nations. Here is a member who has a permanent seat in the United Nations Security Council, becoming a bully, disrupting people's lives, terminating young people's future, and collaborating with an apartheid system that has no respect for humanity. Iranians had to stand up and defend themselves. We've done that. We had to stand up and defend ourselves, especially when you fight against an injustice. So what we need to look at, it's promoting economic diplomacy, but also use other platforms. BRICS must have meaning. BRICS must have meaning. The call for the reform of the United Nations has to happen in earnest. Multilateralism has been undermined. No convention is respected. And what does that call for? It calls for alternatives without walking away from that exists. But we must now look for institutions and bodies that are relevant for the day.
All right. Ms. Mokonyane, thank you so much indeed for those reflections. Mbali, so quite a very significant moment here in Houghton, as quite a very important time is being marked, coinciding with those events happening in Chicago. As you know, that the world is bidding farewell to a very prominent human rights activist, Rev Jackson, who once met Nelson Mandela in these very corridors here. So with that, back to you in studio.
Kylie, thank you so much for that update. That's Kylie Kumalo there in conversation with ANC First Secretary General Nomvula Mokonyane, and giving her insights in terms of that memorial service that was underway at the Nelson Mandela Foundation.